Hello and welcome to Talking Telecoms. I'm Annie Turner, editor of Mobile Europe. Our discussion today is all about 5G, and more specifically, we're going to debate what 5 is achieving or expected to achieve that we can't do today, the key things that are holding back 5G's potential, the most exciting examples of 5G in action now, and how 5G will evolve to meet its full potential. With me to talk about these issues are Yves BELLEGO, who's Director of Network Strategy at Orange, MENNY KONORTY, who's Vice President, Head of Product Management at Amdocs Technology, and KESTER MANN, Director of Consumer and Connectivity at CCS Insight. So welcome to you all, and let's start by looking at what 5G is achieving or expected to achieve that can't be done today. So I don't know, MENNY, would you like to run with that?
Sure, thank you, Annie. So first of all, really pleased to be here. Very exciting topic to all of us. Happy to be here with KESTER and Yves. So, you know, we are all looking at the promise of 5G. So many use cases that are expected to change our lives. But currently, the reality is that most of the deployments are mainly around non-standalone 5G, focused on higher speed. You know, only around 20 5G standalone core deployment with a few pilots and use cases, but really this timing where many service providers are running pilots and testing innovative 5G use cases for gaming, for enterprise with leveraging slicing and low latency. We expect to see a dramatic shift around this in the coming year or so. And I just read one of the analysts talking about you know, over 70% of service providers launching commercial 5G standalone by end of 2023. So this becomes really interesting in terms of the 5G use cases potential. Don't you think so, KESTER?
Yeah, I think from my side, in terms of what 5G is achieving at the moment, I think there's a few things, and certainly some of our survey work at CCS Insight has shown that customers are generally enjoying a better service, so more reliable, faster speeds, and they're able to do more with their mobile phone than perhaps they did before. In terms of the actual use cases and the services and the applications, generally it's not a lot different so far compared to 4G. And actually I was interested to see some research from EE a little while back, but I think it's still relevant, that shows that the top apps in 5G are almost exactly the same as those in 4G. So people are using the same services, but perhaps they're just using more of them, or they're getting a more enriched experience. But to Menny's point, I think that the really exciting opportunity for 5G is in the long term, in the enterprise markets, where we see the migration towards standalone 5G and the advent of opportunities like private mobile networks, connected factories, autonomous vehicles, and so on. I think that's when 5G really starts to come into its own, and when the use cases really start to get interesting.
Yves?
Yes, in fact, I will be maybe a bit more optimistic on what has been already achieved until now. In fact, as KESTER mentioned, I expect that the benefits of 5G will spread over the entire decade. So 5G has already delivered a lot, and there is still a lot to be done in the coming years using, of course, 5G standalone. But just to remind that one benefit of 5G, which we forget because it's mainly for the operators, is 5G is also here to bring additional capacity. 5G is there to cope with the increase of traffic that we plan in the coming years, and that is already a huge success of 5G. The new spectrum bands, the capacity of the new radio is already something that we get the benefits today. And as KESTER mentioned, for the customers, it's just the start. So they just improve performance, but basically just 4G in a bit better. And we have huge now, we have the time to take the benefits of all the rest of 5G, all what will come in the years from now on all the new services. But not forget that what has already been achieved in the past years with just basically the new radio of 5G.
Okay, so what would you say are the key challenges that are holding back 5G's potential? Yves, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, one thing I may, which is a bit, is just that we are so impatient to get it. We just need to do it the right way, put the things one after the other, and don't miss any step. All the new potential of 5G, new services, new applications, whether it is smart anything, smart agriculture in Industry 4.0, connected vehicles and so on. That's already quite a challenge for us, the telecom industry, but let's not forget the huge challenge for the other industries. So we need to support them to understand what they can make use of 5G, and there is a learning curve also on their side. So the fact that it is taking a bit of time for that to develop is just normal life. And let's just do it the right way, and let's prove to the other industries what the benefit we can provide. And as an example, what we have been doing in Orange is what we call the 5G labs. We have close to a dozen of 5G labs over Europe, just to get the industries understand what they will benefit from 5G, and they also need to upgrade to get that into their own processes, their own IT, and there is a bit of thing to be done on their side. So my main message is, let's work as an industry to embark the other industries, understand and support the development of the 5G applications and use cases.
Okay, Manny?
Yeah, definitely agree with you. The potential is huge also for the operations to leverage and better manage the network with this dynamic, elastic cloud type of functions that you can scale in and out or instantiate in the right place in the right time for a big event or where you have traffic, and leveraging the cloud in 5G, and we've mentioned it, is a huge advantage for network operations and service providers, but it also introduces a complexity that is really unknown currently for the traditional network, where you know where the physical box is, you know how to operate it, you know how to get to it from your network management system and get events, and suddenly it's distributed. It's a software-driven network, while you still need to manage your existing network, of course. So this complexity can be exponential if you don't have the right tools, and we in Amdocs really explore in multiple PoCs and discussion with our customers how you can make this 5G network much more automated, change the way or mode of operations for both the network layer and the service layer on top that can vary and obviously span across multiple domains. And if you have this automation in place from get-go, and you do it right first time, also reflecting what Yves mentioned, then you have a real chance or an advantage in leveraging 5G when you move into this new operation mode. You can manage the complexity. Moreover, you can actually improve and further automate your all trouble to resolve, product to cache in production, and the ongoing lifecycle management of the services.
Kester, have you any thoughts to add about what's holding back 5G's potential right now?
Yes, I do. So I think both in the consumer and in the enterprise market, I think just for people and organizations to understand the benefits of 5G and how it can help them. And I think that's a message that still hasn't quite landed from the industry so far. And actually, CCS Insight carried out some consumer research in the UK late last year, in which we asked people why they haven't taken 5G so far. And the main overriding reason was, and I think this was just over 50% of people saying it, is they just don't feel the need. They just can't see the benefits or appreciate why they should have it. And I think that just serves to highlight how much more work the industry needs to do to really make sure that people understand the benefits they're getting from 5G. And a couple of other reasons as well, I would add in that hasn't been mentioned so far. I would also say we've seen a fall in 5G prices for handsets, but perhaps not to quite the lows that we may have been expecting. And a part of that is the impact of the Ukraine war on the supply of raw materials. And then something we hear about quite a lot in the industry as well, which is the whole effort for telecoms operators to erect new masts and infrastructure, to get planning permission, to renew tenancy agreements, and so on. A lot of political bureaucracy in a number of markets. And I guess in line with that as well, of course, is the Huawei swap out in many markets as well. I'm speaking here for the UK, in which we know that there's some tight timelines from the government there as well. So there's quite a few factors there that's perhaps holding back some of the developments of 5G so far.
Okay, so let's move on to more positive ground and look at what are the more exciting examples of where we see 5G in action today. For example, that could be proofs of concept, or it could be deployments. And MENNY, if I may, I'm going to come to you first, because I think you've got some quite good stuff to say.
Sure, definitely. And a spoiler, I'm going to end my description here with a huge and really interesting POC we are running with Orange called the PCARE. So Yves will elaborate on that. So I'll start first of all with a few POCs we are running in the North America. The first one is with T-Mobile, 5G Open Innovation Lab. So it's a non-profit organization called Open Innovation Lab OIL that has a lab, open lab, that onboards multiple startups every quarter with really interesting use cases. We ran and launched to production a few of those. The first one was in a farm in the US, where we actually deployed 3 applications at the edge for AR, VR, analysis via drones of telemetry and coming from multiple sensors on the farm and water and fertilization and all bunch of data, and the analytics that enables this was done on Microsoft Azure Cloud, and the feedback was actually improving the way the farm is operating and help the farmers to better manage their whole process. We launched a few of these applications. We did another POC there for a remote driven car in Las Vegas, launched half a year back with a company called Halo Car. So, like Uber, you call the car in an app, it comes to you driveless and then takes you to your location. And there are many, many other exciting type of use cases we are testing together with many other partners in this Open Innovation Lab environment. We just concluded a POC with A1 in Europe, where we manage multiple type of slicing use cases, mainly for B2B, healthcare, connected campus, smart cities, with the ability to automatically control the slicing parameters according to the use case, and both from the cloud edge and the core. We did it with Hyperblocks, a partner of ours for 5G core. So it's really interesting to see all of this come to life and how you can connect the technology and the slicing flexibility with real life use cases that actually brings business value to the likes of A1. We're also running another POC with a large operator in North America, connecting to a multi-vendor environment, and many others. So really we see a big traction there. And the last and certainly not least one I'd like to mention is Orange PCARE, where we are taking part both in the BSS and the OSS part, but I guess Yves can better explain it.
Yes, in fact, to give some, as you mentioned, any good news, what's going on and what is how we are preparing the future, I would have 3 messages. One is in the past years, and we are doing proof of concept trials with various industries. We did for one case, which is well known and also by our peers and competitors, which is the harbors. So we did in Belgium, in Antwerpen. That is a very good case to test slicing because they have different needs, high quality video, IoT, and so on, and on a limited, still large but limited area. So it's a very good case for private system. We did one also in France, in Le Havre. We did various with for industrial sites. The interest of that, it proves that the 3G system is well designed to answer their needs. It also highlights that there is a bit of work to be done to get that industrialized so that we can really deploy that in large scale, but at least we know that this is a good step for the future. And the other message is we are currently deploying 5G standalone core network 5G over our European footprint. So that's very good news because that is preparing the next step, which will be trials on the live commercial network. And that will be available in this year or starting from next year. So we are as I said, we are doing the steps one by one, but we are on the process and we are on track. And the last one, which is maybe preparing the next step, which is a bit more ambitious, a bit more long-term, is our trial network, which is named PKO, which this one is a full software, fully automated. And just to insist on what MENNY mentioned, that automation is absolutely key in the future to be able to manage those systems and to provide at the end what we need to provide, which is service, performance, and resilience. And at the end, this is something that is absolutely key for us, and we need to have these automations, and which take also a bit of time. We need to trust all these automation to be able to master our network. So that's, we need to get the hands on that. And one way to do that is we have put our own small network, which is fully automated, fully cloud native. And this is where we get the hands on these future technologies, and we get some assurance that we'll be able to manage these systems in the future. So we have done the trials, we are doing the deployment, and we are preparing the future. We are fully confident.
KESTER, top that.
Well, I'll try. Yeah, I've got a couple of really interesting examples actually from the UK to share around 5G. So one is the Green Planet AR experience in London, which was demonstrated earlier this year by the 5G network, and I was actually fortunate to go and try this out, and that actually represents the UK's first demonstration of standalone 5G. And so, for example, the way it works is a lifelike avatar of the famous naturalist David Attenborough, who effectively guides visitors on a journey in which you can see through your smartphone, you know, giant water lilies unfurling and turtles swimming in crystal clear water and a butterfly landing on the palm of your hand if you stick out your hand. It was pretty impressive, and it's a good kind of first example. I mean, a second example, as I say, also from the UK and also involving BT, is different ways to experience sports and the performing arts. And this is part of the UK government's 5G Create programme. So, for example, rugby fans at a match can view insights in real time, for example, of the trajectories of the ball or the distances that the kicks are being made. Or, for instance, boxing fans can view a hologram of a bout in their own home, so it makes them always feel like they're ringside at the event. Or dancers and musicians or other sort of artists, people from the performing arts can demonstrate and teach and perform remotely with students and fans. So a few examples there of perhaps some very early but fun and quite exciting new applications. So looking forward, obviously, to seeing how more of those develop going forward.
Okay, so we've already got quite a lot going on. But what do you think needs to happen for us to get from where we are now to 5G meeting its full potential commercially and otherwise? What do you think we need to do? MENNY, should we start with you?
Yeah, thank you. So I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of I think standardization that needs to be aligned to GPP, obviously leading the bunch with many others. And we need to make sure we can run these type of exciting use cases, automatic across the board, with multiple vendors, and then when it meets the killer applications and killer use cases that we all discussed now, you can really create this operational benefits on one hand, and also launch services with an incremental cost, and fail fast if the use case doesn't catch, and the commercial doesn't look as it envisioned. You move to the next use case across multiple industries. So when these two meet, the maturity of the operations and automation, and a lot of it we are also seeing in Amdocs, running it across the board with more than 80 vendors in our labs, and the killer business applications and use cases across consumer and enterprise. When these two meet, I think 5G will happen big time, and we're all looking forward to it, and see more of these exciting use cases that KESTER mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yes, on that, in fact, I would say I would expect two things are needed. One is to move from proof of concepts, trials, demos, to industrial live solutions that become product and services deployed at large scale. And for that, what we need is really, as Orange, we need to have industrialized solutions that are scalable, that can cope for the traffic, the amount of usage that we will have in our networks. So that's more for internal for the industry. And on the other side, what I would expect will help to develop is what KESTER mentioned, the devices, because at the end, what is the most costly in a network and what is the most complex to upgrade are the devices, whether we are talking about IoT, VR, XR, smartphones, anything from that. That is what we need to have, those new devices that take the benefit, the potential of 5G, and get that into real services for the customers.
So if I thought that was an interesting point about this industrialization of solutions, because I think a criticism often, not just 5G, but proofs of concepts and projects generally, is they're fine as projects, but they don't scale. So it's that step up, isn't it? That's the real big thing.
My message is, I would say that there are steps that are needed. We need to get confidence in the standard, in the capability to do it. And the step after is to get the solutions that we can really deploy at large scale. So again, just do it step by step, not miss one step, but do not overstate or overestimate the value of a proof of concept. It's just one step before the deployment.
Okay, KESTER, we're going to give the last word to you, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd say a few things. First of all, I'd say in terms of 5G achieving its potential is, we need widespread coverage. We need widespread ability to access 5G, whether that's in more remote places or whether that's indoors. So, for example, the rollout of low band spectrum, particularly in Europe, 700 megahertz, getting that in market and deployed, I think is going to be crucial. I would add to that the migration to standalone 5G, of course, which, as we've already discussed, is a key enabler really for many of the new applications and services I think that are going to come on board with 5G in the future. I mentioned it earlier as well. I think overcoming a lot of the bureaucracy around planning and permission and site access, I think is something that needs to be overcome if 5G is going to reach its potential. And then I guess lastly, and maybe most importantly, I would say that 5G combined with other technologies is perhaps the real key to unlock the door. So we shouldn't be thinking of 5G in isolation, but actually how it works with other technologies like IoT and AI and edge compute and so on. And I think it's that kind of combination of technologies that really has an awful lot of potential, particularly I think in enterprise markets. That's areas like private mobile networks, neutral host opportunities, network slicing, and so on. And I think that's where the really exciting part of 5G really takes over.
I think also we're all a bit guilty of talking about 5G as a network technology without stressing the importance of other technologies, network technologies that it works with, such as fiber and 4G as well. I think we tend to sort of forget the interconnection with those is pretty critical to its success as well.
I totally agree, Annie. It's not just 5G. It's 2G to 5G, and very soon 6G as well. It's all the fixed line applications and technologies. It's Wi-Fi. It's fiber. So yeah, I think that's a common mistake in the industry is perhaps to look at 5G as an isolated technology, because obviously it requires other technologies to fulfill its potential.
Okay, well, good discussion. I hope we can do this again a bit later and pick up and see how we've progressed. Thank you very much indeed.
With our metaverses doing the pitch, right?
Well, you'd like to see if the metaverse actually takes off, MENNY.
Definitely. We had a 5G discussion without saying metaverse. So
Oh gosh, sorry, that was very remiss of me.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.